Welcome back, everyone. In our last video, we explored the complex world of emotional triggers. Today, we're diving deep into a real-life example that will shed light on how triggers can wreak havoc in our closest relationships. Picture this: a loving couple, let's call them Alex and Laura, sitting at their kitchen table. The air is thick with tension as they discuss the possibility of moving to a remote area. Laura, concerned about their future, voices her worry about Alex finding a job in that context. It seems innocent enough, right? But what happens next is a perfect storm of triggers, misunderstandings, and emotional chaos. In an instant, Alex's demeanor changes, his face flushes, his jaw clenches, and he erupts in anger. He accuses Laura of doubting his capabilities, compares her to his narcissistic mother, and repeatedly tells her she's vomiting poison on him. Laura is left shocked and confused. How did a conversation about moving turn into this emotional battlefield? This, my friends, is the anatomy of a trigger in action. Let's dissect this situation and see what's really going on beneath the surface. First, let's look at Laura's words. She expressed concern about Alex finding a job, citing the difficulties he's faced in the past and the challenges of the job market for people over 40. On the surface, this seems like a valid concern from a caring partner, but for Alex, these words hit a raw nerve. Now let's step into Alex's shoes for a moment. When he heard Laura's concerns, his brain didn't process them as a loving partner's worries. Instead, it interpreted her words as a direct attack on his worth and capabilities. But why such an extreme reaction? The key lies in Alex's past. His comparison of Laura to his narcissistic mother gives us a crucial clue. It's likely that Alex grew up with a mother who constantly undermined his abilities, made him feel inadequate, and perhaps even sabotaged his efforts to succeed. This childhood trauma created a trigger point in Alex's psyche. Any perceived criticism or doubt about his capabilities doesn't just hurt. It catapults him back to that place of childhood helplessness and rage. In that triggered moment, Laura ceased to be Laura in Alex's eyes. Instead, she became a stand-in for his critical narcissistic mother. But here's where it gets even more complex. Alex's trigger didn't just make him lash out, it also distorted his perception of what Laura actually said. Remember, Laura was talking about the challenges of the job market. But in Alex's triggered state, he heard something very different: that he was incapable of ever finding a job. This is a classic example of what psychologists call cognitive distortion. When we're triggered, our brains can twist and exaggerate information to fit our worst fears and expectations. It's like wearing glasses that turn every shadow into a monster. Now let's talk about Alex's response. He didn't just get angry, he launched a full-scale emotional attack. He compared Laura to his mother, invalidated her own career success, and accused her of vomiting poison. This isn't just a disagreement, it's a desperate attempt to defend against a perceived existential threat. When we're triggered, our responses often seem disproportionate to others. That's because we're not really responding to the present moment. We're fighting against a lifetime of accumulated pain and fear. Alex isn't just arguing with Laura about job prospects. He's battling against every voice that ever made him feel small, incapable, or unworthy. But here's the tragic irony. In trying to defend himself, Alex is actually pushing away someone who loves and supports him. His triggered response is creating the very situation he fears most: rejection and abandonment. For Laura, this isn't just another argument. It's a painful reminder of a pattern that's slowly eroding her love and trust. Each time Alex lashes out, a piece of her hope for their future crumbles away. She's left wondering if love is enough when triggers turn every discussion into a minefield. The weight of walking on eggshells is becoming too heavy to bear, and for the first time, Laura is very seriously considering whether it's time to prioritize her own emotional well-being over the relationship. So, how can we unravel this knot of pain and misunderstanding? The first step is awareness. Both Alex and Laura need to understand the concept of emotional triggers and how they operate. This isn't about placing blame, it's about recognizing the invisible forces shaping their interactions. For Alex, the path forward involves deep self-reflection. He needs to connect the dots between his past experiences and his current reactions. This isn't easy work. It means confronting painful childhood memories and acknowledging how they still impact him today. but it's essential for breaking free from the grip of his triggers. One powerful technique Alex could use is the trigger journal. Every time he feels that surge of defensive anger, he can write down what happened, how he felt, and what past experiences it reminds him of. Over time, this can help him identify patterns and gain insight into his emotional landscape. Alex also needs to practice emotional granularity, the ability to distinguish between different shades of feeling. Instead of jumping straight to rage, he could learn to recognize the fear and hurt underneath. This doesn't mean those feelings aren't valid, but naming them accurately can help him respond more appropriately. Another crucial step for Alex is learning to pause when he feels triggered. In that moment of activation, his prefrontal cortex, the rational, decision-making part of his brain, goes offline. By practicing techniques like deep breathing or counting to 10, he can give his brain a chance to come back online before responding. But healing isn't just an individual journey. It's also about repairing and strengthening relationships. Alex and Laura need to have open, honest conversations about triggers and how they impact their communication. This requires creating a safe space where both partners can be vulnerable without fear of judgment or attack. For Laura, understanding Alex's triggers doesn't mean walking on eggshells or never expressing concerns. Instead, it's about learning to communicate in ways that don't inadvertently poke at old wounds. This might involve using I statements to express her worries, or explicitly affirming her belief in Alex's capabilities before discussing challenges. One powerful tool for couples dealing with triggers is the trigger plan. Together, Alex and Laura can create a strategy for what to do when one of them gets triggered. This might involve using a code word to signal that they need a timeout, or having pre-agreed phrases to help de-escalate the situation. It's also important for both partners to work on self-regulation. When Alex gets triggered, Laura's own triggers might get activated in response. Learning techniques like mindfulness meditation can help both partners stay grounded in the face of emotional storms. Now let's address a crucial point. Understanding triggers is not about making excuses for hurtful behavior. Alex's triggered response was painful and damaging to Laura. Part of his healing journey must involve taking responsibility for his actions and making amends. This is where the concept of rupture and repair comes in. All relationships experience ruptures, moments of disconnection or hurt. The key to a healthy relationship isn't avoiding all conflict, but learning to repair effectively after a rupture occurs. For Alex, this might involve sincerely apologizing to Laura, acknowledging the pain he caused, and committing to working on his triggers. It's also essential for both partners to recognize that healing from triggers is a process, not a one-time fix. There will be setbacks and moments of regression. The goal isn't perfection, but progress, creating a relationship where both partners feel safe, understood, and supported. For those watching who recognize themselves in Alex's story, know that there is hope. Triggers may feel overwhelming, but they don't have to control your life or your relationships. With awareness, effort, and support, you can learn to navigate your emotional landscape more skillfully. And for those who see themselves in Laura's position, remember that you're not responsible for managing your partner's triggers. But by understanding them, you can create a more compassionate and effective way of supporting your loved one while also maintaining your own emotional health. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Our triggers are not our destiny. They're signposts pointing to areas that need healing, invitations to deeper self-understanding, and more authentic connections with others. Every time we face a trigger with awareness and choose a different response, we're not just changing our own lives, we're contributing to a more emotionally intelligent world. So what's your next step? Maybe it's starting a conversation with your partner about triggers. Maybe it's seeking professional help to work through past traumas. Or maybe it's simply paying more attention to your emotional responses in daily life. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content on emotional healing and relationship dynamics. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you experienced situations similar to Alex and Laura's? What strategies have you found helpful in dealing with triggers in your relationships? Remember, every step you take towards understanding and healing your triggers is a step towards a more fulfilling life and healthier relationships. Keep growing, keep learning, and keep connecting. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.